Before I proceed, I would like to discuss regarding the structure of my paper. I have broadly divided my paper into five parts. Part 1 carries the introduction part, wherein I have explained the importance of IT or ITES in today's modern economies. This shall be followed up with part 2, wherein I have discussed the ease of doing business indicators, which are directly impacted by the IT policy and legal framework. This is followed by part 3, wherein I shall be discussing the brief framework of IT policy and legislation, which I have basically defined in the light of NPIT 2012 only, as I have limited my scope to only the broad IT policy and have not dealt with the software policy and various other connected policies. Moving on to part 4, I shall in this part review new initiatives, recent trends, and the way forward in India's information technology policy and legislation in the light of ease of doing business parameters. I have discussed National E-Governance Mission and various DI initiatives, which is Digital India initiatives undertaken by the Government of India. And finally, in part 4, which is my concluding part, I have given some suggestions and drawn some conclusions. So before I begin with the introduction, I would like to start it with a quote. The king, which is the state, shall promote trade and commerce by setting up trade routes by land and by water and establishing market towns and ports. This was in Kautilya's Arthashastra in 4th century BC. So basically, the ethos of it is still relevant in the modern day context. As India eyes to leapfrog towards a US $5 trillion economy by 2024-25, simplifying and maintaining a business friendly regulatory environment is very much needed. Ease of doing business is a key to entrepreneurship, innovation, and wealth creation. Further, export competitiveness depends not only on the cost of production but also on the efficiency of logistics. All these things, and I emphasize this point, all these things are unconceivable in today's modern day without the use of information and communications technology, and hence there is a need for a well thought out and future oriented ICT policy framework and laws, and it cannot be overstated. So ICT, I'll just define what is ICT. ICT is a broader term for information technology, which refers to all communication technologies, including the internet, wireless networks, cell phones, computers, software, middleware, video conferencing, social networking, and other media applications and services, enabling users to access, retrieve, store, transmit, and manipulate information in a digital form. It must be noteworthy that usually when we talk about the information technology, we talk almost in the same breath about the communications, and together we refer to the same as information and communications technology. Also in India, both the domains are the subject matter of two different ministries or departments. The former being governed by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, which is METI, or Electronicary or Suchna Pradyogiki Mantralay, which it is called in Hindi, and the latter by the Ministry of Communications or Sanchar Mantralay, Department of Telecommunications, Dur Sanchar Vibhag. So there is no doubt that both these converge at some point and there is a great synergy between them. But in this paper, we have limited the scope to the current IT policy and various other government initiatives undertaken, including but not limited to NPIT 2012. I have come up with my own analogy basically to emphasize the importance of IT. If the life and blood of the nation is said to be its commerce or business, then it would not be an exaggeration to label information technology as the artery which carry that blood. Information technology is the use of any computer, storage, networking, or other physical devices, infrastructure, and processes to create, process, store, secure, and exchange all the forms of electronic data. This can also be established by the fact that in recent past, the importance of IT. In the recent past, there has been a paradigm shift in the Indian government policy, which through its Digital India initiative wants to transform India into a digitally empowered society and economy. It must also be understood, and especially from India's perspective, that not only the ICT sector is export incentive in the sense that India is major player in the world for software exports and services, IT also has a huge role to play in growth of other allied or ancillary industries as well. Not just the foregoing, ICT has a major role to play in e-governance initiatives, and ICT also plays a huge role in decreasing the administrative and regulatory burdens on businesses. Thus, the role of ICT cannot be overstated. However, it is ironical that India, being the global information technology powerhouse, the usage of IT in India with respect to governance and other sectors is still not up to the mark. So, with this introduction, I will just jump to my next part. Without getting into the details, I'll just name the parameters of ease of doing business and highlight the ones which are directly impacted by IT policy and legislation. So, here are the parameters. But before I name them, let me give you a small perspective. It is estimated that 1 percentage point change in the ranking correlates to an investment decision ranging from US dollar 250 million to US dollar 500 million as per various estimates, including estimate by the World Bank. So needless to say, why countries emphasize on improving upon these parameters and why the IT policy in particular becomes pivotal in achieving a better ranking. So here are the parameters. And also one more interesting trivia, it may be interesting to note that as benchmarked to 2019 May, India ranked 63 with an overall score of 71 out of a total of 190 countries ranked. And as compared to this, New Zealand, which has been ranked 1, scores 86.8 overall, and China has been ranked 31 with an overall score of 77.9. So the parameters are: number 1 is starting a business, number 2 is dealing with construction permits, number 3 is getting electricity, number 4 is registering property, number 5 is getting credit, number 6 is protecting minority investors, number 7 is paying taxes, number 8 is trading across borders, number 9 is enforcing contracts, number 10 is resolving insolvency. And apart from these 10 parameters, there is one more parameter which is studied by the World Bank. However, as of today, this parameter, though not part of my study, is not counted towards arriving at the overall score of ease of doing business, which is EOBD. So I'll not. So as I have discussed, some of the parameters fall within the ambit of my study. That is from the perspective of how IT policy and legislation measures have a direct and positive impact on the ease of doing business rankings. While some of the parameters fall within the domain of other policy measures like infrastructure, labor laws, property laws, which might not be having a direct impact as such. So this is based on recent policy guidelines and also the conceptual literature which has been suggesting electronic governance and ICT based solutions as a way to decrease the administrative and regulatory burdens on the business. This is also supported by the data from World Bank ease of doing business reports and United Nations e-government surveys. So, limiting the scope of my study, let us identify the parameters which are affected by IT policy and legislature directly. So, this is point number 1, which I discussed: starting a business. Then number 2, getting electricity. Thirdly, registering property. Fourthly, getting credit. Fifthly, trading across borders. And sixthly, protecting minority investors. So, out of 10, basically these I want to emphasize that these 6 are the ones which are impacted by IT policy and legislation. Now I come to the third part, wherein I have discussed the brief outline of IT policy and legislation in India, which I have studied in the light of National Policy on Information Technology 2012. I won't talk in detail about this policy, but I will just read the vision statement of the policy document, which will throw a light on what it aims to achieve. So the vision statement reads as: to strengthen and enhance India's position as the global IT hub and to use IT and cyberspace as an engine for rapid, inclusive, and substantial growth in the national economy. So this is what the vision statement is. Now moving on to part 4, I shall quickly talk about some new IT policy initiatives and legislative measures and recent trends and way forward in context of ease of doing business parameters. So basically, while the National Policy on Information Technology 2012 has several praiseworthy goals, there is a little indication, and this is very important point to note. There is a very little indication as to how this ought to be implemented. It would have been helpful had the authorities and execution mechanisms had been clearly spelt out in the policy, including the mechanism for periodic review to ensure that all security standards and quality guidelines and timelines are met. Also, the development of language technologies is extremely crucial to ensure that ICT access is possible for persons in both rural and urban areas. And along with this, affordability also should be stressed, and open source technology solutions should come out of public funded research and development. So amid unpredictable business environments, the Government of India's mission e-governance coupled with Digital India has undergone a paradigm shift. There is a new thinking on how it engages with its citizens and interstate and intergovernmental functions. Government of India accords highest priority to the Digital India program, that is an umbrella program for transforming India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. Some of the DI initiatives are Aadhaar enabled payment system, which is AEPS, then the BPO scheme, then Digidhan Abhiyan, then MyGov, then National Mission on Education using ICT, then Northeast BPO promotion scheme, which is any BPS, Narega Soft, Open Force, and so on and so forth. I mean, I've mentioned approximately 20 DI initiatives. So basically, the National E-Government Plan was conceptualized to focus on the e-government initiatives at the national level, with an aim to make all government services accessible to the common man in his locality through common service delivery outlets, and ensure efficiency, transparency, and reliability of such services at affordable costs to realize the basic needs of the common man. Although India has done a commendable job in improving ease of doing business rank, but India must sharpen its focus on doing business as well. I mean, on the cost of doing business as well. The pandemic has made many countries inward looking in terms of their supply chains and domestic capabilities, which will affect global trade and growth over a medium term and will make countries realize the importance of cost competitiveness. Further, in cost of doing business parameter, India lags behind other countries on many counts. However, the two key parameters which can be addressed in the near to medium term are energy costs and regulatory overhead as compared to other factors like, for example, infrastructure, which can be improved on a long term basis only. So lower costs and in particular energy costs and regulatory overhead will in turn reduce the cost of providing ICT solutions as well. Further, I have just touched upon the data protection bill. In the recent draft bill on personal data protection bill, it was tabled in the Indian Parliament, which is currently being analyzed by the Joint Parliamentary Committee. I won't delve into the details of this and the controversy related to it and how this draft bill was changed. 2018 was the first draft bill was introduced. Then in 2019 there were some amendments, and there has been some controversy surrounding it. But this is not the focus of my paper, so I've just touched it in a passing way. So basically, this bill covers mechanisms for protection of personal data and proposes the setting up of a data protection authority of India for the same. Without delving much, it is a different subject matter, as I said. Some of the objectives of this bill might get fulfilled, whereas some of the objectives proposed might not get fulfilled. Thus, all the aspects of the proposed bill must be studied in detail before it is passed, so that various interests are balanced and it does not have an adverse impact on ease of doing business initiative of the Government of India. So now I would like to now conclude. And my conclusion is, like, according to the World Bank report, India now ranks 63 out of 190 countries in the ease of doing business. With a global rebalance in play, wherein many countries have been exploring the opportunity to adopt a China plus one strategy, India has a great competitive advantage when it comes to attractive foreign investors, as India has the right combination of skilled and young demographic population and an economy that has embraced digitization. The Government of India has an ambitious target to enter into top 50 in the next few years. Given this, the government has not just started the process of further simplification of rules and procedures, but also realized the importance of information technology, which can make governance more effective, thereby improving the rankings further. The government has made various policies recently which addresses various aspects of ICT taken as a whole, like National Digital Communications Policy 2018, National Policy on Software Products 2019, etc. Apart from the NPIT, which we have discussed already. Apart from this, government has launched various initiatives under DI, which 20 in number as of 2021, which I have just highlighted. However, this is not enough. Now, this is my main conclusion. This is not enough. The government must relentlessly and sincerely work towards reducing the gap further between policy formulation and policy implementation, so that getting into top 50 rank in ease of doing business becomes a reality. Further, there should be predictability and transparency in policy making process, which shall instill confidence in the investors that rules are the same for everyone instead of rules favoring one group or entity. There is a competition from other Asian economies as well, not just China. Brazil, for example, has received US $75 billion in FDI as compared to India's US $45 billion, clearly showing the scope to do more. Further, there is a need to explore and formulate alternative methods in order to facilitate cross border sharing of data. Else, the ad hoc and haphazard rules governing personal data protection, e commerce guidelines, and data localization might do more harm than doing good. Thank you very much. Sir, over. Yes. Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, my dissertation topic would be related to this only. So, thank you, sir. 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 Sir, I think both. Sir, I got your question, sir. Basically, I would like to answer by first saying both these things, e-governance and like ease of doing business, they cannot be taken. I mean, they cannot be understood in seclusion. Basically, they cannot be understood in silos. They synergize at one point in time, sir. So I would say there has to be a balance between the digital divide you mentioned, sir. There can be some policy framework wherein some kiosks are established in small villages and all also too, which is being happening. I mean there are the APES, the digital bankers, they are going to villages, and people are conducting banking through their Aadhaar enabled system, through a small mobile. So I think government should focus on that also. At the same time, sir, government should make a focus on ease of doing business, because the macroeconomic policy has to be taken care of. Like, until we get the FDI, until we get the our country is competitive, we are not going to grow that way. So focus has to be divided. Focus has to be on both the things. Sir, correct, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Sir, there is a definite synergy between both, sir. I see a synergy in both. I don't see in both in seclusion as such. So please come again, sir. I couldn't hear you. Sir, please come again. Sir, come again, please. Sir, startup schemes, as in? Sir, that initiative is Make in India. The government has incorporated a different entity which is taking care of all the the foreign direct investments, and the head is it is headed by Mr. Deepak Bagla. Basically, he is the head of Make in India initiative in India. Sir, I am not, because it would have, sir, actually, it would have really increased the scope, but I have actually mentioned it. I have mentioned, I have taken the, yes, sir. Sir, actually, the EOBD indicators which I have mentioned, I have taken some pointers from Startup India only. Even the Intel, sir, Intel has already shown, the in Intel, I think it has already been given the green signal go ahead by the government to make a plant in India. Intel chips. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Yes, just a moment, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, I actually find it more interactive also. I find it more interactive actually. Thank you, sir. And thank you for your insights, sir. Thank you.